This is the only six-pack that works at any altitude, not in the gym, in the cockpit. 6 instruments every pilot uses, and once you understand them, you'll be able to read almost any instrument panel in any aircraft. Welcome to Flight Deck Focus. I'm a young aviation enthusiast, student glider pilot, and future commercial pilot. But without further ado, let's get into your cockpit six-pack. Let's start off with the Airspeed Indicator. This shows your indicated airspeed, how fast you're moving through the air around you, but not the speed over the ground. It uses the pitot system, which consists of pitot tubes, small forward-facing tubes that measure pressure from the air hitting them, as well as static ports, tiny holes on the side of the aircraft that measure the surrounding air pressure. The difference between these pressures tells the gauge your airspeed. Also called the artificial horizon, the attitude indicator shows your aircraft's nose position or pitch, and wing tilt or bank relative to the real horizon. It works on a gyroscope that stays aligned with Earth's horizon, letting you keep orientation even in cloud, fog, or darkness. These are examples of IFR situations or instrument flight rules, where you can't rely on looking outside. The altimeter displays your altitude above sea level by sensing static air pressure. Because air pressure changes with weather, it's set to the QNH, the local air pressure at sea level, so it reads accurately for that geographical area. However, once you climb past a certain altitude, called the transition altitude, all pilots switch their altimeters to a standard pressure setting of 1013 hectopascals, or 29.92 inches of mercury in the United States. Above that point, altitude is no longer called altitude, but it is instead called flight level. For example, 35,000 feet becomes flight level 350. On the way back down and past the transition level, which is the lowest flight level you can be cleared to when descending. At that point, you reset your altimeter to the local QNH, so it matches terrain and local traffic. This way, everyone in the high-level cruising airspace is using the same reference, no matter what the weather is doing below. The vertical speed indicator shows how quickly you're climbing or descending. It uses static pressure but tracks how it changes over time, turning altitude data into a vertical rate. This helps to spot trends, for example, if you're slowly descending without noticing. While it may look like a compass, the heading indicator runs on a gyroscope, so it's stable during turns and turbulence to ensure accuracy of directional reading. Because gyros drift over time, you realign it with the magnetic compass regularly. The magnetic compass itself is affected by acceleration and turning, so the two instruments work together to ensure that the aircraft always reads the correct heading. Lastly, the turn coordinator shows how quickly you're rolling into or out of a turn, and whether the turn is coordinated. The little ball, the inclinometer, sits in a curved tube. If the ball is centered, your turn is coordinated. If it's off to one side, you're slipping or skidding, meaning there is either not enough rudder or too much rudder respectively. Coordinated turns are smoother and safer, especially for passenger comfort. That's your cockpit six-pack. 6 instruments all working together and the foundation for flying any airplane. If you picked up something new or just enjoyed the ride, hit subscribe and come along for the next one. See you again soon.